Today we're diving into a story that has been making waves across the continent, a move from Denmark that many are calling unexpected, bold, and even shocking. Europe has seen its share of political shifts, economic surprises, and strategic maneuvers, but what Denmark has just done has pushed conversations into a whole new direction. In this video script, we'll explore what happened, why it matters, who it affects, and what it could mean for the future of Europe. The paragraphs will stay short and easy to follow, and the explanation will walk you through every detail without rushing. Denmark is often viewed as one of Europe's most stable and predictable countries. Known for its calm politics, strong welfare system, and cooperative role in the European Union, Denmark rarely finds itself in the center of a major continental shock. That is exactly why this move has gained so much attention. It breaks the pattern, it forces the rest of Europe to pay attention, and it opens the door to new debates that weren't even on the table a few months ago. The reason this decision is getting so much coverage is not only because of what Denmark decided, but because of the timing. Europe is already dealing with multiple overlapping challenges. Economic pressures, energy struggles, immigration issues, security concerns, and rising political tensions have created an environment where every new policy feels heavier than usual. Denmark's decision, arriving in the middle of all this, amplified the impact. Many European governments were caught off guard. They expected Denmark to continue following the same path as before. Instead, Danish leaders took a step that showed they were willing to change direction if it meant protecting their national interests. This shift signaled something important. It suggested that even long-standing policies could be reevaluated and replaced if needed. The first major effect of Denmark's move was political. It sparked immediate reactions from neighboring countries. Politicians, analysts, and policymakers across Europe began asking what Denmark's decision meant for them. Some praised the move as a realistic and necessary step. Others criticized it as risky, divisive, or even harmful. No matter the viewpoint, everyone was talking about it. In Brussels, the reaction was even stronger. The European Union relies on coordination, unity, and aligned policies. When a member state suddenly changes course, it forces the EU to reconsider its strategies. Denmark's move placed pressure on European institutions to respond, either by adapting, negotiating, or offering alternative solutions. The decision exposed weaknesses in the EU ability to maintain consensus during challenging times. Beyond politics, the economic implications were also significant. Denmark's economy might be small compared to giants like Germany or France, but it plays an important role in Northern Europe. Any shift in policy can affect trade, labor markets, and cross-border cooperation. Investors, businesses, and financial analysts started studying the details of Denmark's move to predict potential consequences. Some sectors saw opportunities, while others worried about uncertainty. Another major aspect of the controversy is how Denmark's decision ties into security and defense. Europe is in a period of geopolitical instability, and countries are reconsidering their defense strategies. For some analysts, Denmark's move looks like a strategic recalculation, a way to strengthen its national security. For others, it raises concerns about weakening collective European defense efforts. The social impact within Denmark was also notable. Citizens reacted with a mix of support, confusion, and concern. For many Danes, the decision touches on important questions about national identity, international cooperation, and the direction their country should take. The public debate grew quickly, with discussions happening in newspapers, television programs, and social platforms. People wanted clarity. They wanted to know how this change would directly affect their daily lives. The broader European public responded as well. People across the continent saw Denmark's move as a sign that more changes could be coming. Some wondered if other countries would consider similar steps. Many Europeans started questioning whether their governments might shift direction too. Denmark's decision became a trigger for larger conversations about the future of Europe. One of the reasons this move caused such a strong reaction is because Denmark has a reputation for caution and careful planning. When a country known for stability makes a bold move, people pay attention. It suggests that the situation is serious enough to justify new thinking. It also suggests that the old approaches may no longer be effective. What makes the situation even more interesting is how quickly everything unfolded. Denmark announced its decision with strong justification. The leadership explained that the move was essential for long-term stability and national resilience. They highlighted challenges that the country could not ignore any longer. They emphasized the need for proactive solutions rather than reactive ones. European leaders who criticized Denmark argued that the decision could create more problems than it solves. They warned that sudden policy shifts can create instability. They also worried that the move could inspire other countries to prioritize national interests over collective European goals. Still, those who supported Denmark countered that the EU must also adapt to new realities. They argued that Denmark was simply taking action earlier than others. One key part of the discussion involves the balance between sovereignty and cooperation. Denmark's move leaned more heavily towards sovereignty. It asserted the country's right to choose its path. This sparked debates within the EU about how much freedom individual countries should have when it comes to major policies. It also raised questions about the limits of EU authority. The media played a major role in shaping public opinion. Headlines across Europe used strong language. Words like shock, shift, and challenge were common. Many articles described Denmark's move as a moment that could reshape the European landscape. Television debates featured experts analyzing every angle. Social media users shared opinions, theories, and concerns. The story dominated the European news cycle for days. Another important factor involves long-term consequences. Denmark's decision may bring short-term disruption, but the long-term effects could be even more significant. It could influence future elections. It could affect EU negotiations. It could reshape how European countries work together. And it could inspire new policy movements in other nations. Some analysts believe Denmark's move represents a broader trend within Europe. They argue that the continent is entering a new phase where countries are becoming more willing to challenge traditional structures. Economic pressures, security threats, and social changes are pushing governments to reconsider long-held assumptions. Denmark, they say, is simply the first to act. Others disagree. They believe Denmark's move is more unique than it appears. They argue that Denmark faces specific national circumstances that other countries do not share. According to this view, the decision will not trigger a domino effect. Instead, it will remain an isolated case. Still, even those who disagree admit that Denmark has opened the door to new debates. Inside Denmark, the political atmosphere has shifted. Parties that supported the move gained momentum. Those that opposed it faced pressure to adjust their arguments. Civil society groups joined the conversation, offering recommendations and raising concerns. The decision became a defining moment for Danish politics, shaping the country's internal narrative. International reactions extended beyond Europe. Countries outside the EU also watched closely. Some saw Denmark's move as a potential sign of growing fragmentation within Europe. Others interpreted it as a sign of strength, proof that European countries are willing to take bold actions. The global response showed that Europe's internal decisions have worldwide importance. One major element that analysts continue to discuss is timing. Why now? Why choose this moment to make such a dramatic move? Danish officials explained that waiting any longer would have made the situation worse. They argued that the changing global environment required immediate action. They emphasized that the world is becoming more unpredictable and countries must adapt. European critics responded that sudden decisions can create confusion. They argued that Denmark should have consulted more closely with EU partners. They warned that lack of coordination could weaken Europe's collective position. Supporters countered that Denmark had every right to protect itself and that sometimes action must come before consultation. As the debates continue, one thing is clear. Denmark's move has forced Europe to confront issues that were previously avoided. It has brought uncomfortable questions into the spotlight. It has exposed tensions that were simmering beneath the surface, and it has shown that no country, no matter how stable, is free from difficult choices. Looking ahead, the situation remains fluid. European institutions are still analyzing the implications. National governments are still discussing their responses. Denmark is monitoring the effects of its decision and preparing for adjustments. The story is far from over. The next few months will be crucial. They will determine whether Denmark's move becomes a turning point or simply a temporary disruption. Public opinion will also play a major role. As people learn more about the decision, their views may shift. Support may grow or shrink depending on how the consequences unfold. Citizens across Europe will continue watching closely. They understand that Denmark's move could shape the future of the continent. One of the most important things to understand is that Europe has always been a region of competing interests. Different histories, different cultures, and different priorities create natural tensions. The EU was built to manage these differences through cooperation, but cooperation requires compromise, and compromise is becoming more difficult in the current global environment. Denmark's move reflects this struggle. It represents a country trying to balance national needs with European commitments. It highlights the challenges of maintaining unity in a changing world. It also shows the limits of existing systems. When pressure becomes too high, countries look for new solutions. Some experts believe the EU will adapt. They argue that Europe has overcome larger crises in the past. They believe the institution will evolve to accommodate new realities. According to this view, Denmark's move will ultimately lead to constructive reforms. Others believe the situation could become more complicated. They worry that Europe is entering a period of fragmentation. They fear that more countries will choose national strategies over collective ones. In this scenario, Denmark's move becomes the first of many. What makes Denmark's decision so significant is not just what it includes, but what it represents. It reflects a mindset that is spreading across Europe, a mindset shaped by uncertainty, a mindset influenced by global changes, a mindset that prioritizes flexibility over tradition. To understand the full impact, we must also consider how Denmark's move affects everyday people. Policies might seem like distant government actions, but their consequences are real. They can shape job opportunities, living conditions, prices, taxes, and international relationships. They influence how people feel about their future. In Denmark's case, the decision created a mixture of hope and concern among citizens. Some people welcomed the change. They believed the move would strengthen the country. They saw it as a necessary step to protect Danish interests. Others felt anxious. They worried about instability. They questioned whether Denmark could face isolation or new challenges as a result. In Europe, reactions were just as mixed. Some citizens admired Denmark's courage. They believed more countries should reconsider outdated policies. Others feared that the move could weaken European unity. They worried that the decision could set a dangerous precedent. What matters now is how the situation develops. Denmark will face pressure from multiple directions. Domestic politics will demand clarity. European partners will expect negotiation. The international community will monitor the results. Each of these forces will shape the outcome. Despite the uncertainties, one thing is certain. Denmark's move has changed the conversation in Europe. It has forced leaders to think differently. It has pushed debates into new territory, and it has challenged assumptions that many believed were permanent. Whether this moment becomes a major historical turning point depends on what happens next. If Denmark's decision succeeds, it could inspire a wave of similar moves across Europe. If it fails, it could serve as a warning for others. Either way, the impact is undeniable. Denmark may be a small country, but its decisions can have large consequences. This latest move is proof of that. It has startled the continent. It has sparked discussions that will continue for years. It has reminded Europe that even small shifts can create big waves. As the story unfolds, analysts will continue offering insights, politicians will continue debating, citizens will continue reacting, and Denmark will continue navigating the complex landscape it has entered. This is not just a national decision, it is a European moment, a moment that reveals the deep challenges and changing priorities shaping the future of the continent. In the end, Denmark's big move has done more than just shock Europe. It has forced everyone to rethink the direction of the continent. It has highlighted the tension between unity and independence. It has shown that even in a union built on cooperation, countries still hold the power to shift the balance, and it has reminded Europe that change can come from unexpected places. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more deep dives into the biggest stories shaping our world.